The Rock would never go to AEW is a perfectly normal, sensible and understandable thing to say. I mean, even if you look at it from afar, it doesn't really benefit Dwayne Johnson from going to All Elite Wrestling because his star is so big these days, when you look out your window at night in the sky, you just see The Rock. He's smiling down going, "No, it doesn't matter what you think." You're like, Rock, you're so great. So simply put, he doesn't need the exposure. And right now, as I stand here, he is WWE through and through. And I know that he wears Lucha Underground t-shirts and sometimes on Twitter he talks to other people that aren't in World Wrestling Entertainment, but he's also come out in interviews and said that Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you know that guy, was like a second father to him. Now that is deep, however, business is business, and who is doing more business than Dwayne The Rock Johnson? I mean, honestly, go back through the last 12 months and document all the things that he's done. He's got gym stuff, he's got clothes, he's got shoes, he's got tequila, now he goes around drinking alcohol. When it comes to making some money and growing his brand, The Rock is like a runaway freight train. So if you aren't aware of all of his projects, you are living under a rock. Aren't you happy you clicked these videos? Well, look, you never say never in wrestling, and a more appropriate cliche for right here, right now, is that there's always an exception to the rule. So you ready for this? Because this is how The Rock may end up in AEW. Oh, you bet your ass. So in case you missed it, because 2020 is the strangest 12-month period ever since the Earth came into existence, The Rock, his business partner Danny Garcia, and Redbird Capital have indeed purchased the XFL, the American Football League, that was started by Vince McMahon and was brought back for a second time only a few months ago, but then went bankrupt because of the global pandemic. I honestly would have expected someone like Andre the Giant to have purchased the XFL before The Rock. And if you're not aware, Andre is no longer with us anymore. When I first saw that headline, my jaw hit the floor and I audibly went WTF. Because I'm a walking internet idiot. Done for that, and I quote, love of the game. I presume Johnson's idea here is that he was able to purchase the XFL for a pretty small value. It was only $15 million. And if he can sign it to a major TV deal and he can actually make a success out of it, he can then sell it off down the line and make a pretty penny. But what a lot of people were first saying when they heard this was, oh my gosh, this is a shot against Vince McMahon. Of course it wasn't, and the idea was first brought to the table by Garcia, but still, this is now an ex-WWE superstar or an ex-employee trying to make something work that the boss wasn't able to begin with. Twice. Let's not pretend that's easy. I mean, if you are living in America right now, you understand the difficulty. And if you're a UK-based person and you need an equivalent, it would be like someone trying to start an alternative to the Premier League that only ran from like May till August. And it sounds like a great idea, but the sheer amount of funding it needs to be able to grow is unreal. Which is why, here, take number 2, McMahon now has to go, well, what else am I meant to do? I'm gonna walk away, which he did. Paint this scenario in your head though, just like, open your brain and hear me out. Because you're gonna have to find a partner in a TV station in order to air the games, otherwise nobody's going to see it. So it could be an ESPN, it could be a Fox, or it could be a TNT. Now that will prick up the ears of any wrestling fan, because you already know that AEW, here we go, airs on TNT. And also don't forget that it's also home to numerous sports, which is why this week AEW Dynamite is actually being kicked to Saturday, because they got some playoffs to air. I'm sorry, pro wrestling, but you have to go to the weekend. It has to be considered a potential destination for this, however, but the amount of baggage it comes with, because again, it died twice, means that you're gonna have to do every single thing you can in order to try and turn it around. So I'm talking about product placement, I'm talking about adverts, and I'm talking about mentioning it on every other single program you have. You remember when WWE SmackDown went to Fox, you could be watching an NFL game when a couple of commentators would start telling you how crappy pro wrestling was. Well, thank you very much. Anyway, forget all that, because a group of people who know all about the Extreme Football League are wrestling fans, again, for obvious reasons. So if you have a wrestling program on your station, on your network, of course you're gonna push these two things together. Look how easily my hand slid into one. So not mentioning it on Dynamite would be absolutely idiotic. And are you telling me that Dwayne Johnson, the man who had no problem buying this, even though it was associated with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, wouldn't even have the tiniest thought that, well, I could probably appear on that show and it would probably get a little bit of buzz, and then I could then tie it in to this new massive project I spent millions of dollars on? If you don't think that could happen, I think you're going crazy. I would also bet that he's already thought about it. You know what The Rock's like? He's like 72 steps ahead of everybody else. He probably looked at it and went, well, look, if we do go down that path, I think I can use my star power to make this happen. And that goes back to the start of the video. Do not forget that the reason this could work is because of The Rock, and The Rock is the biggest actor in Hollywood. Go look at the money-making list, he's #1. Now, this is not me saying that The Rock is going to wrestle for All Elite. I'm just gonna reiterate that because I know how the internet works. I do not think that The Rock is going to wrestle for All Elite Wrestling. But I don't even care, because that's irrelevant. That's not the point I'm trying to get across. If I had told you, even like a year ago, that one day The Rock will be on an AEW show, much like Bret Hart was when he came out with the world title, you would have ripped my lips off, because you will have decided this man does not deserve to speak, because all he does is spout nonsense. And that is true, but leave my lips alone. So I tell you, understandably, it would take a lot of factors going down. But if the XFL does wind up on TNT, I bet Dwayne Johnson gets on the phone and he calls Tony Khan and he says, look, what can we do? It may not go anywhere, but you would have that conversation. It would help no end, and the amount of buzz it would generate in the wrestling community would mean that a ton of folk tuned in to see that episode of Dynamite, and then The Rock would do what he always does, and that's sell, PR to the point you'd be like, well, I better watch that first game here on TNT for the XFL, otherwise I think I'm letting down the great one. And don't pretend you don't follow him blindly, because I bet a large portion of you went to see Skyscraper, and we all know what happened with that film. Now, I'm just joking around, funny, but it was no Rampage, was it? Man, Rampage was a strange film. And sure, you're going off in the comments now, but I can see it. I truly can, and it's not going to happen in 2020 because the league isn't starting till 2021. But the last 8 months or so have been so bonkers, I am counting for nothing. In fact, no, I'm counting for everything. Nothing is off the table. I mean, we were all locked in our houses for months because of a global pandemic, and if that can happen, The Rock turning up in AEW can also happen. I bet my ass this one right here. Okay, right, this bald asshole is done. And either two things are gonna happen now. One, this will one day happen and I will gloat about it like the worst person ever. Or two, it doesn't happen and, you know, it's YouTube. This video will come and go and we'll all forget about it and I can continue on my merry way. There you go, that's my opinion. I think it's true, and we shall have to see what happens. And you're already in there, but go in the comments, let me know. Can you see this happening, or am I off the rocker? I mean, I am off the rocker, but still not the point. Like the video, share the video, hit the subscribe button, head over to whatculture.com. You can read articles like this and get mad over there. Follow What Culture on Twitter at What Culture WWE. So look, if The Rock then goes and buys, I don't know, the National Hockey League, you'll find out there first, and make sure you watch more videos here, videos on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thank you as always for joining me, and remember, what's the day? It's over there. The 17th of August, 2020. Simon Miller says The Rock one day could appear, not wrestle in All Elite. Now, we wait.